Welcome to Cooking with Epicure. Today I'm here with Deniz Karaca, who is Epicure's pastry chef at the MCG. Deniz, what will we be cooking today?
Today, Giselle, we're going to make some chocolate truffles. The special thing about our chocolate truffles today is we're going to involve some herbs and some spices and infuse the actually truffle mix.
I've heard of spices added to desserts, but a fusion of herbs in sweet items sounds really interesting.
Well, if you think about it, we're already doing it a bit in a patisserie. We use a fair bit of mint, we use kaffir lime, and we use thyme in the past, I guess, involved with some citrus dishes.
So let's get started on these chocolate truffles.
All right, I'll start by running you through our ingredients for today. We start with some 35% cream. Now, when it comes to cooking desserts, it's very important that you actually use a 35% cream rather than a low-fat cream. A low-fat cream is all right if you do something in the savory kitchen, but in desserts, we have to be very strict with our recipes to get the setting process right, to actually get the flavor balance. So we take that cream and we add it into our saucepan. And the next thing we have is butter. We use unsalted butter. Always when it comes to cooking in the kitchen, we use unsalted. On the table goes the salted. So we don't change the recipe. We don't have that saltiness in it. Even if you want to add saltiness to a dish, add the salt. Don't use salted butter. It's just an easy thing to remember. So we add this butter to the cream. And what happens now is we take our saucepan and bring these two ingredients together to a boil. Now, while it is heating up, I'll prepare our herbs. So today we're going to actually use some fresh rosemary and some green cardamom pods. The pods are nicer than the powder because we're just going to be able to infuse the mix and strain them out after, so we don't have the texture of the actual spice in the dish. So we just crack them open up, cut them a bit so the taste can come out of them. And then we add those to the mix as well. The chocolate we are using today is a 70% Verona chocolate. It's a chocolate couverture, not just a normal chocolate. The difference between a chocolate couverture and a chocolate is a chocolate couverture has no fat added to it. The only fat that you find in a chocolate couverture is the cocoa butter, which is the natural fat of the cocoa bean, which is a very healthy fat and a very tasty fat. However, if you can't find a chocolate couverture, you can use a good high quality chocolate. 65 to 75% will be just fine. Once our cream has come to a boil, which will happen very soon, we put this chocolate in a bowl that is big enough to take the cream and the chocolate together, so we can mix it in there.
So when it does go to the boil, do we need to leave the heat on for it to infuse?
Now, once it has come to a boil, you just take it off and let it infuse, just as you would do with a tea. Now that our cream has rested, we just pour it through a fine sieve or chinois onto the chocolate. And what we're aiming for, we want to try to cover all of the chocolate with the cream so it gets a chance to melt thoroughly. And we just squeeze that last bit of cream out of it because that's where all the flavor will be in. So we're giving it a couple of minutes now. The cream should have melted all the chocolate, and what we do, we just mix it thoroughly with a whisk. So if you're planning to add any alcohol to this dish, this would be the time. You don't want to do it at the end because if you put it at the end, the cold alcohol will actually make the ganache split and you have the fat separating from the rest of the ingredients.
So can we make a child-friendly version of this without
Sure,
the alcohol?
you sure can leave the alcohol out. What the alcohol does, of course it adds flavor, but the other thing is it acts as a natural preservative. So the chocolate, you will be actually able to keep the chocolate later without refrigeration. When adding alcohol, we say about 2 to 3% on the whole weight. So we've got about a kilo of mix here, so we'll add, I'm a bit naughty, so I add about 40 grams. And you just combine it well until it forms a smooth, silky ganache. If you've been in a rush, it always helps to actually fill it into a shallow container rather than a deep bowl, and it will set much faster. So Giselle, we let our ganache set overnight, and you can see it's nice and firm. It firmed all up. It's nice, still nice, silky smooth. So what we're going to do now, we use a piping bag. If you don't have a piping bag, you can also use, at home sometimes I like to use those freezer bags. They're fine, you just cut a little hole in the bottom. If you got a piping bag, ideally.
Yes.
So you fill this mixture into the piping bag. Now a little tip, don't fill up your piping bag too much, it's just going to make it harder on you to pipe. So what we do now is we will pipe the ganache onto the silicone paper, and we want to try to get it as round as possible. Now again, a little trick when you pipe, Actually, don't move the piping bag. Hold it about a centimeter above the surface you pipe on and just pipe. If you don't move the piping bag, it will just form itself around. And you're just going to continue to pipe all of this mix onto the baking tray. Now once we piped our tray, this will go in the fridge for approximately 2 to 3 hours. Depends on the fridge and it depends on how full your fridge is already. Just to get the ganache set nice and hard so we can easily coat it with the chocolate. So our chocolate truffles had the chance to set now for the last 2 hours in the fridge, and you see they're nice and easy to get off the paper. So we just want to release them just a little bit off the paper, and then we grab our second amount of chocolate, which I just melted in the microwave. However, when you melt chocolate in the microwave, make sure you put it in for 20 or 30 seconds, give it a bit of a stir, and then put it back. You don't want to melt it all the way through because it will actually make the chocolate burn, because microwave heat starts from the center and works to the outside. So I'm actually going to get you now to give me a hand, if that's possible. So you're just going to swap sides. I'm going to throw those things in those truffles in the chocolate, and you're just going to roll them in the cocoa powder. Okay. And once they're rolled in the cocoa powder, you can just take them out and drop it into the second bowl. So we're just going to take them. The chocolate shouldn't be too warm for that. It's a good working temperature with chocolate. If you don't temper the chocolate, it's about 35 to 40 degrees. We'll keep it nice and melted, but it won't melt the actual truffle. So I just drop them in there, just dip them in the chocolate. Make sure they're nicely coated. Drip the chocolate off a bit, and just drop them in the cocoa powder. Now the chocolate truffles are still fairly cold, so the chocolate should set very fast. It won't take more than a couple of minutes.
What are some of the serving suggestions for these truffles?
Well, they would make a fabulous petit four for your next dinner party, or just with your coffee for afternoon tea, or just as a giveaway for your next Christmas party.
So thanks, Deniz, for showing us how to make these wonderful truffles. You can find the recipe on www.epicure.com.au. We look forward to seeing you next time for our Cooking with Epicure series.